Pleasure to welcome to the show, Max Christides. Max, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome, my man. Thank you for reaching out, and I'm glad we were able to make this happen. Marquette starting. I'm not starting. I don't know. Are you the starting goalie? Maybe I should ask that in the beginning.
Yeah, no worries. Of course. As of right now, you never know because it's a whole new year. But last season, I did not start, but I got a little bit of play time.
Gotcha. So you're battling for the starting position. Awesome. Well, cool. I'd love to hear the story of the very first save you made. Do you remember that?
I don't particularly remember the first save, but definitely the first time I hopped in the net. It was around sixth grade. So I started playing in third grade, but I was a midi up until sixth grade. And my best friend was playing goalie at the time, and in practice ended up getting hurt. So our coach just asked us if anyone wanted to volunteer, and I gave it a shot, and I ended up loving it and stuck it out.
Wow, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What made you like volunteer to get in there?
Yeah, so I just thought it'd be pretty fun, to be honest. I got to be on the field pretty much the whole game, and just kind of like the last line of defense. I was either winning the game or losing the game at the end of the day, and I just like that pressure, to be honest. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. Were you good at it?
Yeah, I think it came pretty naturally to me. I think probably when I started out, I wasn't too good, but like I said, the first time was in practice. So I got to practice a little bit, and I ended up loving it. So it came pretty natural.
Yeah. And I read that you grew up in Michigan. Yeah. So were you,
Yeah.
did you play a lot of ice hockey growing up as well? Or like were you used to kind of, these type of, hand-eye coordination sports?
Yeah, so I actually never played hockey, probably one of the only guys from Michigan. But growing up, I played a lot of soccer, a lot of football, and a little bit of basketball. So I just had, I think, a lot of experience in other sports that translated well.
Yeah. How do you think those sports translated into your lacrosse goalie game once once you got into it?
Sure. So I think from football, I think I just really love the physicality, which helped. And then in soccer, I played center mid most of the time. And so I think the vision really helped, just kind of like analyzing the whole field when I was in the net.
Yeah. Like kind of just seeing plays develop and just kind of generating, what we would call lacrosse IQ, what they might call soccer IQ of like, just knowing what's going to happen and being aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that translates
Interesting.
well.
What about basketball? Because I played basketball growing up too. I think there's a lot of translations there.
Yeah, sure. So I really just played for fun when I was in middle school because a lot of my friends are doing it. But I think kind of the same idea as soccer. I got to really analyze, a lot of the game being offense and defense, and a lot of predicting what was going to happen on defense. And then, so I think that helped out.
Yeah, love it. Cool. So as a youth, then you get thrown in the goal. You're enjoying it a little bit. How did you go about learning how to make saves?
Yeah, so I think I was pretty fortunate enough when I was in sixth and seventh grade. Really, the first truly competitive club programs were kind of just starting in my area, and I had one that I decided to play for. And luckily enough for me, I had a coach by the name of Derek Kinney that had come over from New York. That was a goalie at Virginia and won a national championship back in the day, and he really taught me pretty much everything I learned when I was in seventh grade, I think. And from there, I went to a few camps locally and throughout the Midwest, kind of to learn a lot. And I think I just caught on pretty quick from there.
Yeah. So he kind of taught you the basics of like stance and positioning and that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. What camps did you go to? Remember?
Yeah, so there's a pretty local one in Michigan, and kind of smaller, called, I think it was just like All American Lacrosse, that I learned a good amount at. And then once I decided to take it more seriously, I went down to Bill Pilot's goalie camp. I don't know if that's still a thing even, but
Totally.
and then later in high school, I went to some goalie smith stuff, kind of my senior year when they really got going.
Yeah.
And I still do that stuff now when I can, but like I said, being from Michigan, it's a little tougher to get out to camps. So
Yeah, for sure. What do you recommend to goalies who are in that situation who, because there's a lot that are, I don't know, from Michigan or from a state where not a lot of the big name camps pass through. Bill Pilot and the Goalie Smith guys have been doing like a lot of, worldwide, not worldwide, but at least US based tours, which is great, which is awesome for the sport, and commend them for that. But what do you recommend to goalies who, were in that situation that you were in where there's not a lot going on in your area?
Yeah, I would say if you're really serious about playing the position, try and seek someone out locally that either played at a high level or might know someone that played at a high level, and try and get some one-on-one sessions and coaching. And then just take as many reps as you can, really. I think everyone has their own unique style, so you don't really need one set way of going about it. But
Yeah.
I would say try and seek out some mentorship around you if you can.
Yeah, that 100% agree with that. I mean, that people ask me that question all the time, actually. Like, hey,
Yeah.
Damon, do you know anybody in like, upstate New Hampshire? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my first question back to them is like, well, what D1 program, like what schools are around you? And they're like, oh, the only one that's really close is Dartmouth. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the Dartmouth goalie. Like, reach out to him and see if he's be interested in training. And he wasn't, but the backup was. So there you go. Now you
Yeah.
got like a D1 level goalie. And you just reach out to him on Instagram. And like most of these goalies, like it's a real small knit community. I imagine if somebody reaches out to you, like, I mean, you would answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
I'd be more than willing, and I love coaching. So
Awesome. You do a lot of coaching?
yeah, so in the summer when I can, I like to coach with some club programs. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Me too. It's what I do for a living. Not as
Yeah.
much live coaching as like, the virtual stuff, but hey,
Yeah.
there you go. What do you say, what do you say when people say, what kind of style do you play? Are you're, I guess good sized dude, like 6'1". So, are you kind of on a flat arc when you step? Do you step 45 flat? What's your overall style?
Sure. So yeah, I guess I play a little bigger because of my height and size. I'd say I play kind of a flatter arc, and I think early in my college career, I'd like to step laterally. As of late this past year, I've really tried to start coming out at the ball more. I don't think either one way is particularly more effective or whatnot, but I was just kind of messing with it, trying to see if I can't get any better. And so I'd say I play a little flatter traditionally, trying to come out more. But I try and use my size to my advantage just because I have it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I always recommend goalies do that. Just try something, especially in the off season. We're recording this now in August, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys have started school yet or it's still summer, but like, lacrosse hasn't started up yet. And so it's a good time
yeah,
to tinker with a few things. And even like if you start stepping at a 45 or you start stepping flat and you don't like it, it's like it to me, it adds this other element of confidence to your game because you're like, all right, I know I'm doing what's right for me. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, and then do you play like kind of wider base? Or what's your base setup?
Yeah, I definitely play a wider base. I would say I have kind of longer legs, and so I play a wider base and try and sink low, uh, and try and get my body as wide as possible to get to the ball.
Yeah, I love that. I think that like I've talked about that a lot. I think that like that's the future of goaltending if you got the height. If you got the
Yeah,
height,
definitely.
it's tough. It's tough if you're a shorter goalie. And so like for a lot of youth listening to this, like it doesn't make a lot of sense because they would like shrink down to be so low and they'd kind of lose their athleticism and just be giving up way too much of the top part of the net. But if you got the height, like there's so many advantages that it gives you. Like when did you start doing the wide base?
Yeah, so I obviously wasn't always tall. I think my freshman year of high school when I started playing varsity, I was really like 5'5", and I was playing a pretty skinny stance just because I was shorter. And then as I grew, I think my junior, senior year, one of my coaches recommended I try out a little bit of wider base, and it ended up working out great. And so I stuck with it from there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I posted a clip of Will Mark. I don't know if you know Will
Yeah,
or know of him, but like I posted it to my Instagram the other day. I'm like, this is one of the benefits. And like this dude sweeps down the alley and he's like on a full sprint and he takes like 5 steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like Will doesn't even move, like with that wide
yeah.
base, like because you're already there and you just like give it a little squaring up of the hips and bam, like you're in perfect position. And like, that's what we want as lacrosse goalies is just to be set so we can see that thing coming at us.
Yeah, I saw that clip and I like that a lot. I think it's really effective down the alley, and when guys are coming up the alley, you can stay in the pipe for a while.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, cool. Well, when you were, growing up or I guess even now, like who were some of the older guys, college or pro that you really liked watching?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, I'm from Michigan originally, and so there really wasn't a ton of guys going to play college goalie from my area. And I truthfully didn't watch a ton of college lacrosse until I was older. Like I mentioned, I play a lot of sports, and so I really wasn't too focused on lacrosse until later
Mhm.
in middle school and high school. But once I started getting serious about it, one of my biggest influences was definitely a goalie by the name of Hunter Braun that ended up playing at UMass Lowell. That was a big part of my original decision to go there. And I tried, once I got my size kind of, he was a bigger goalie. I tried to really kind of copy his style because I loved it and it was really effective for him. He was an amazing goalie.
Love it. Hunter Lowell.
Yeah, Hunter Braun at Lowell.
Hunter
Yeah,
Braun at Lowell. Got it.
yeah,
Yeah. I never heard him but you know what? I'm constantly on the lookout for new goalies to watch. I'll check him
yeah.
out. Check out Hunter. I thought you were going to give a Kyle Bernlohr shot out there coming from the Midwest.
You
No?
know, you know what's funny? I actually, for my high school, one of my coaches actually went to WRA with him, and so for our spring break, we would go down to WRA every year and practice. So I heard a lot about him, but truthfully, I didn't watch him a ton. So I was like, cool.
Awesome. Yeah. No worries. So then you mentioned you were playing other sports. Like at what point did you say like, all right, I'm gonna try and play lacrosse at the next level as opposed to soccer or football?
Sure. So I really didn't play serious club lacrosse until I think a little bit my eighth grade year, and then after my freshman year of high school. Up until that point, I was still playing football. I played basketball throughout middle school, and I played football until my sophomore year of high school. And then during my sophomore year, that fall and throughout that winter, I really decided to hone in on lacrosse and started playing at a higher competitive level, and then gave up football at that point.
So your sophomore year of high school.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
probably later than most guys, especially coming from the East Coast.
Yeah. That's probably what I would say as well. Just based on the interviews that I've done. But that's interesting. It's good to know because a lot of people say like, oh, I'm they think they're too late. Everyone always thinks they're too late, but like my first question is like, too late for what? you know
Yeah,
I got an email the other day from a kid and he was like, I'm just starting as a freshman in high school. Is it too late? And I'm like, too late for what, my man? Like too late to have a great time with
yeah,
with your high school buddies, or even too late to play, MCLA or like at a Division III program, or
yeah.
is it too late to get a D1 scholarship? I don't know, maybe not, like, but even if that's not your goal, it's not too late. So go
Yeah,
for it.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So you start then sophomore year, which is a little late. So how did you go about like doing the recruiting process then?
Yeah, so I would say I played some club ball my freshman summer and sophomore fall, and then I had some local Division III offers, nothing too big at that point. And then after my sophomore season, I was playing with True Michigan at the time, and ended up going out east for most of the summer. And after probably my first tournament, I really realized what was going on, and it kind of clicked. And then I ended up getting some looks my sophomore summer and going through sophomore fall, same exact thing, and then ended up working out my junior year. I decided to take one of the offers.
Nice. So and you went to UMass Lowell, was that coach like at a tournament, or like how did that work?
Yes,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
there.
sure. So one of my major tournaments, probably my best showing. There were a lot of coaches there. There were a lot of Division I commits on my team at the time. Truthfully, I think by the time we were juniors, that team had 13 or 14 Division I guys on it. And so
Wow.
there were a lot of coaches at our games at all times. And he was one of them that saw me and liked me. And I ended up taking a visit actually after the tournament. I just stayed on the East Coast for an extra few days and toured the school and ended up liking it.
Nice. That makes me think about something, because someone had asked me like if they should be like, is there pros and cons versus being on like a really good club team, as opposed to like one that's not so good. And I guess one of the pros of being on a great team is exactly what you just said, is like it's going to draw a lot more eyes. And
Yeah,
whether or not you're
definitely.
good or not, it doesn't matter, but they're going to see you. And so they're going to be there maybe watching the attackman. And if you have a great game, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, this goalie Max, like, star, let's keep an eye on him. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think they were there watching some other guys on my team. A few of my teammates were going to Lowell already at the time. So they were there, I think, watching them and just kind of noticed me as well.
Nice. What was it about the school that you really, that really hooked you?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Hunter was planning on going there. He
Yeah.
was a grade or two above me in the same club program that I played in. So I looked up to him a lot. And then a few of my other friends from my team were going there. And touring the school, I really liked that I was going to be pretty much automatically admitted to the business school, which I had already known at the time that I wanted to study. And I also liked the location being close to Boston. And so the coaching staff was pretty appealing, and I just liked it at the time.
Love it. That's awesome. While you were answering that, I looked up Hunter Braun. Please tell me he's still got that afro.
I think he does. He ended up cutting it, I think, my either freshman or sophomore year, because I think, frankly, it just got too big for the helmet.
Yeah. Oh man. It's not like the flow that comes out the back. It just
No,
keeps getting bigger. Yeah, he's got real
huge.
curly brown hair.
Yeah.
And a nice afro. All right. That's awesome. That's cool. So you get to Hunter Lowell and Hunter Lowell. UMass Lowell. And does your lacrosse goalie game change at that point?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. COVID kind of shut down my freshman season, and I was also I got injured the start of my freshman spring. So after I got back from that, I had a lot of time to kind of like toy with my game over the summer and throughout the fall. And I think it definitely helped a lot going into my sophomore year. I definitely changed my style a bit. I was stepping more aggressively. Just got faster hands. I think overall I just improved a lot.
What was the injury you went through?
Yeah, so January of my freshman year, our first preseason game, I took a shot that I don't think any goalie wants to take, a bounce shot straight to the cup, and unfortunately had to have a surgery, and I was out for I think
Ooh,
8 to 10 weeks. Yeah,
no way. I've never, I mean, obviously I've heard of goalies getting hit there, but oh man. Was
yeah,
it like
nothing.
wasn't it like an exposed hit or like it just got you in the cup, but it was the damage was too
Yeah,
much?
it was just probably the most unlucky thing ever. Just yeah, bounce shot to the cup. Luckily it was a successful surgery, I guess, if you could put it. So
All right.
everything's fine.
Oh man, what a bummer. That, I mean,
Yeah.
top number one most painful moment of your life right there.
100%. Yeah. And yeah, so like I said, it kept me out, I think, close to 10 weeks. And then the week after I returned to full play, I think COVID shut us down. So pretty much missed the whole freshman season.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, that's got to be, how was it jumping back in there for the very first time? Was there like some mental cobwebs going on where you're kind of like, oh man, if I get hit there again, like I don't know how I'm going to deal with it.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I think probably my coaches were a little concerned. They were definitely cautious. And I was just like, I just want to get in the net and play. And yeah, I just jumped right back in. I was begging the trainers to clear me because I wanted
Yeah.
to play in games. And for obvious reasons, they could not. But as soon as I got the okay, I just jumped right back in, and I was fine.
Interesting. Because a lot of goalies, like I hurt my thumb in
Yeah,
college, right? Like a lot of goalies. And then like the first time I jumped back in, it was like, I just wasn't like you're kind of like the injuries, like the history of the injuries, like still in your head. And you're always like, oh man, if I take a shot there again, I'm going to re-break it. But you didn't have that. And I'm curious, like
yeah.
how?
I think I was just so eager to play because I'd
Yeah.
gotten to the Division 1 level and was just dying to play, and
Yeah.
so I was like, I'll do whatever it takes really to get back in the net and hopefully maybe get in some games. So I just wasn't thinking about it, to be honest.
Got it. What kind of cup do you use now?
I use a Warrior toolbox.
Okay.
Funny enough, it's the same exact cup.
Oh, you didn't, that's it. You didn't upgrade. You
No,
just, all right. Loyal,
no,
faithful to the
yeah,
toolbox.
100%.
All right. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I I got one of the ice hockey double cups now.
Okay.
Before,
Yeah.
like back in 1999, I just had the normal bikey,
I would never.
those regular
I would
ones.
never.
And yeah. And like they were kind of like the angle, they were kind of like curved, so like you could
Yeah.
take one off the kind of like off the side of the cup and it would still
Yeah.
hit you right in the leg,
Yeah.
which sucked.
That'd be tough.
Yeah, but luckily I never experienced an injury like you did.
Yeah.
But,
It was tough.
knock on wood, and knock on wood for all goalies out there listening to this.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. Well, cool. What did well, actually, let's talk about the transfer, because you're now at Marquette, and I would love to hear, how they entered the picture and, the transfer process and kind of why you decided to transfer.
Yeah. So it was honestly pretty long process. I think it really started beginning of my sophomore year. Like I said, I didn't like personally practice until January, February of that year. And so for the entire fall, just because of school and Massachusetts COVID restrictions, I was not practicing. And so I had a lot of time to kind of reflect on the other aspects of the school, socially and academically and everything. And it took a while. It wasn't an overnight thing. I had a lot of discussions with my mom and some close friends over the course of the entire kind of winter and spring, and ultimately came to the decision that I wanted to, pursue other opportunities athletically and academically. And so after my sophomore season, I decided to hop in the portal, and it was for a multitude of reasons, not just athletics at all. I applied to a bunch of schools purely academically. I was fortunate enough to start my whole sophomore season, and since I knew I was thinking about transferring, I was really focusing on grades that semester. So I put myself in a pretty good position to be eligible at a lot of schools. But even then, it was really stressful because in high school you have maybe 4 years to go through the recruiting process. In the portal, especially just being after season in the summer, it kind of shrinks down to 3 months.
Right.
And so it was tough. But specifically Marquette. Marquette was on my list of schools that I was willing to go to athletically. It was a pretty small list, truthfully, because I was really focused on academics. And so I didn't really talk to Marquette seriously until August. And at that point, I wasn't really in love with any of the opportunities that were coming my way for lacrosse. I was talking to some high level schools, but I just wasn't exactly in love with any of the options. And I was actually already applied and admitted to just go study at University of Texas in Austin for school. And then kind of like early August, Coach Stibble at Marquette texted me, and I think it was word for word. He said, "Hey Max, what are you up to this fall?" And I was like, "Well, nothing." A few phone calls later, one thing led to another, and I was moving in a few weeks after that.
Awesome, man. Good story. Good story.
Yeah.
And Marquette's out of the you guys playing the Big East, which I watched quite a bit. I sponsored Owen McElroy last year out of Georgetown. And so I watched quite a few Big East competitive league. Actually, you guys play Denver too?
Yeah, we play. It's Denver, Georgetown, Providence. Good amount of teams.
Yeah, love it. Well, cool, man. And then how's Milwaukee? I can't say I've ever been to Milwaukee. The only thing I know about it is from Wayne's World, from Milwaukee, Algonquin for the good land.
Yeah, I love it. School's pretty much right downtown, and so there's a lot to do. It's a lot of fun, and I think I like the Midwest a lot more than the East Coast. That might be a hot take within the lacrosse community, but my personal opinion, I love it.
Yeah, I haven't spent too much time there. We went out and played Michigan and Michigan State. I played at Cal, by the way, but back when they were both club teams. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, but haven't spent too much time there.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. So, as we mentioned in the opener, my very first question, you're kind of competing for the starting job, and what does that look like to you? How do you approach that? We're in the off season right now. How do you kind of, talk me through how you're approaching it I imagine your goal is to win that starting job.
Yeah, 100%. Up until this year, I hadn't had any time as a backup, truthfully. From my freshman year of high school, even through my sophomore year, besides my injury, obviously I was I was a starter, and so it was kind of tough to grasp during the spring this season. But once I kind of accepted that role, and I was also the oldest goalie on the team at Marquette, and so I kind of had to step in more of a leadership role during the season. But then afterwards, as soon as the season ends, the coaches will talk to every guy on the team, and every goalie kind of gets the same memo. Next year is a whole new season. It doesn't matter what happened last year. Doesn't matter if anyone's coming in, if anyone's leaving. The Giants wide open for the best goalie to win it come springtime. And so I think you kind of just got to let that go from the previous year and come in with the same intensity as if no one had an upper hand, because they really don't. In terms of off season, I just try and get some shots in when I can. Doing a lot of weight training, running, hand-eye coordination stuff, a lot of throwing. Yeah.
Yeah. How do those goalie competitions work? When do you know like who's the starter, or does it come down to like sometimes like the very last weekend, before you got to name one?
Yeah. So throughout the fall is really more about development, truthfully, and just kind of getting better for every goalie. And then once the springtime comes, you might have an idea of who's stepping in the net first. The goalies, especially, I think, have a better idea because we play with each other every day. So if one guy's clearly ahead of the other guys, you kind of assume that they're going to play. But I think at Marquette, we have a super competitive goalie room. And truthfully, they didn't tell us who's going to start the first game until right before we were warming up for the first game. So we were all kind of locked in, ready to go. And then
Oh, wow.
ended up going to Mike LGR, and he played amazing. And so I think, sometimes it takes longer than other times. But this past year, it was right up until the first game.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. That's good that you guys got a good goalie room. I find that, I've had a lot of goalies on, and obviously every college and pro goalie has been a part of a goalie room. And the general sentiment is that like, the best seasons that they've had have been like with the best goalie rooms because why? Because you get pushed hard, and you got to outwork these other guys who are pushing you to be better. So that's good that you got that.
Yeah. And I think being at Marquette with the guys that I have, I think it was a lot easier to kind of be supportive, because truthfully, like, we all enjoyed each other in that goalie room, and we all wanted each other to play, really. Obviously, we were pushing each other to get better, but it was easy watching one of my teammates have success because I wanted them to have success. So
Sure. Yeah. How did you go about being a leader of the team when you're not a starter? Because a lot of goalies think that, like, in order to get the respect of the team, like, you have to be, sometimes they think you have to be the starter. Sometimes they think you have to be the star. And that's not always the case. So how did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So I think at Marquette, it's pretty special. I think everyone kind of values everyone on the team. And, it goes down to the very last guy for how successful the team's going to be. So I don't think there's any sense of, one guy over the other guy, just pure respect wise. And outside of that, I think the best way to be supportive is to really kind of be outside of yourself, and not be selfish. So I had no problem kind of cheering on Mike, especially as he played, but also the guys that weren't playing. And also at this level, everyone's an amazing lacrosse player. So it's easy to respect guys, even if they're not the star.
Yeah. Love it. What about a time you went through a slump? Has that happened in your career? I was going to ask you about being a backup. That's one of the questions, but it sounds like up until this last season, that hasn't been the case. But I'm curious about the slump, and how'd you go about getting out of that?
Definitely. So I think probably, the biggest slump I've had in my career is this past spring. There was a couple of weeks where it was real tough. I just wasn't saving the ball like I normally would or thought I could. And, at first it's obviously super frustrating. And then I think one thing that really helped me out of it was our coaching staff truthfully took the time to like sit down and have talks with every player all the time. And, there was one time I vividly remember our defensive coordinator, Coach Richard, pulled me aside as I was going down the training room one day, and he was like, "Hey, Max, like, what's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." He goes, "No, really, what's going on?" And I basically told him I was just struggling, just saving the ball. I think it was a lot mentally. And he said, he told me what he thought made me an amazing goalie, and that was me kind of being outside of myself, being very loud, and a positive attitude. And he said, if I can focus on that for the next few weeks, I should be able to kind of turn around whatever I needed, he was willing to do. So there were plenty of times where he would give me extra shots before practice, after practice, pull me aside during practice and be like, hey, what do you need? And I think that was really helpful. And then for those few weeks, I just really focused on others, to be honest. If I wasn't making saves that I should, I kind of just let it go and started supporting the other goalies and be loud when I was talking to the defense, be loud when I was trying to make saves with my body and stuff like that. And eventually it kind of just turned around and I got my confidence back.
Love it, man. Love it. Some powerful lessons in there. I think, one, I think so many goalies hold that in, they're like, you're going through a slump and you're not feeling good out there and they just hold it in and it's really tough. So the lacrosse goalie community is a very small community. Reach out to any goalie that any coach that reach out to me, reach out to Max. Like, we'll be happy to help you through it. And that's number one. Number two, like, sometimes you just need to be reminded that you're a great goalie.
Yeah, definitely. I think once I started to turn it around, also Coach Richard never stopped that support. Truthfully, he would remind me that I'm playing great now. And so that really helped with my confidence. And then, it turned around from there. And, every goalie, I think, is going to go through a slump at some point in their career. And you got to remember that, like you said, you are a great goalie and it's not going to last forever. So, yeah,
I actually encourage goalies to journal. I don't know if you do this. I've been doing it. I've been doing it recently right here. I've been doing it. Do you do it?
I do not. That's awesome.
Dude, you got to get into it, Max. You got to get into it.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the things you can do is you can just like build up this confidence reservoir, as someone on the podcast once said. And so, like, then when you're feeling down, you go back and you read like this like awesome stuff that you wrote about yourself. And, it's kind of really powerful in a way when we talk about the mental game, because you can get right back in that mindset of like, yeah, all right, I am a good goalie, or I am a good, goalie coach, or what have you.
Yeah, I think one thing kind of that reminds me of that is Mike Elieri, the guy that started most of the game for us this past year. He pregame every single game actually watches his own highlight tape. It gets him pumped up like right in the locker room before he walks out into the field. And I think it's just to remind himself that he's got it. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I recommend that as well. If you got it, watch your or for me too, like watching certain, I do these save edits, watching, like, there's certain ones that I watch that are just like, oh man, it just like gets me so pumped up to play.
Definitely.
Even when I'm having a bad day, I'll go back and watch 2016 John O'Connor's versus Jack Kelly. Beauty. 2016 quarterfinals, I think, Navy versus Brown. Anyway, my favorite. Awesome. I love it, man. So it had to be, a little tough on you, being a starter for all those years. And then now, like, last year was, your first year being a backup. I mean, is there anything you learned, any advice you want to share to other goalies who are the backup?
Yeah, definitely. I think on one hand, I was fortunate enough to kind of get experience and start at a young age in college. So then when I became a backup, it was tough, obviously, but throughout the process, I learned to you got to be supportive of the other guys, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's about 75 Division I teams and countless other teams at any level. And so not every guy is going to start all the time. And I would say, truthfully, be supportive to the guy who's playing, and just forget about yourself. And I think doing that, you also learn a lot about yourself and get a lot better as a goalie and as a teammate and as a leader.
Interesting. What'd you learn about yourself?
Yeah, I learned that I think I could be a lot more positive every single day, and that bringing a positive attitude to practice really makes everyone around you better. And like throughout that process, I learned to be a better leader with the defense, because guys would appreciate the positive energy, and then once they appreciate that, you can kind of help them out if there's anything they need to work on, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. I was a big energy guy. Like, even after I graduated and after I was past my athletic prime, like, I played softball with just with my buddies in the city, in a city league, right? And I was a huge energy guy. Like, always, like when it's our turn to bat or someone's got a big hit, just like, getting the team pumped. And I think people feed off that. And guess what? Like, they love playing with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Good advice. What about, the mental game, right? Like so important as lacrosse goalies, that we have strong mental game. First of all, when I say that, when I say mental toughness, how do you define that? And then how do you go about improving it?
Yeah, so I think probably obviously the first thing that comes to mind for me specifically as a goalie is your confidence. I think if if you have a low level of confidence in yourself, I don't think you'll probably get very far. But I think if you can build that up through repetition of actual saves and also talking to others, talking to yourself, reminding yourself that you are great, it'll
Right.
kind of build up. And the old saying, "Fake it till you make it," I think is very truthful. I remember telling myself back in 8th grade I was the best goalie in the world. And I don't think that was true at the time, but I definitely learned to believe it. And I think it helped a lot.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as you first start out, you have no reason to be confident. You have no
Yeah.
reason because you don't have the experience, right? But yet, that's this weird thing of lacrosse goalie is you have to have this totally unearned confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
But that being said, there are certain things that you can do to build up that confidence, and the main thing is reps, right? Is just get out there, right, and just do as much work as you can, because it's kind of like taking a test, like a test in school. It's like if you walk into that room and you haven't studied, are you gonna be confident? No, of course not, right? But if you've studied for weeks, you walk into that test, you got a different feeling because you've put in the work and you're ready.
Yeah, I think another thing that really helped me this past season. We're fortunate enough to have Mark Glissini, who plays in the PLL, be our kind of like mental strength coach. And something that I've really taken away from him is kind of have like a mantra that you're going to say to yourself. And every day at practice, really, I'm literally talking to myself out loud, saying 3 things I kind of want to believe of practice, and that's positive, confident, and grateful. And so there are times I'm literally saying that out loud to myself behind the cage, and I think it helps in all 3 of those areas kind of improve them.
Positive, confident, grateful. Love it. What are you grateful for?
Grateful for the opportunity for sure. I think throughout my younger years in high school, I was dreaming of being a Division I goalie, and now that I'm there, I don't want to really forget that dream. I want to appreciate that I made it happen, and also just the amazing opportunity that I have at Marquette, such an amazing school academically and athletically. I think it goes a long way to remind yourself that a lot went into this, and you should appreciate every moment of it.
100%, 100%, and grateful to be playing this beautiful game,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
definitely.
that we're in this opportunity to even, I mean, there's a lot of people that are just struggling for basic human needs out there, right? And we have this opportunity to play this beautiful, the medicine game, which is amazing. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I love that.
yeah, and if at the end of the day, if my biggest concern is being the backup goalie at Marquette lacrosse, I think there's a lot
Right.
worse things that could
Yeah,
happen.
totally, totally. That's awesome. Yeah, that's funny because I read a lot of stuff, and it's not gratefulness, it's gratitude. Gratitude is like a huge one, that I don't think we've talked about enough on this podcast. So yeah, goalies should always practice gratitude. And when we talk about that journal, that's a huge thing to write down, right? Like things
Yeah,
that you're grateful for. And
yeah,
it just helps you out big time in the mental game.
yeah.
So the other thing too, so confidence, yeah, and confidence is talking about confidence, it's such this like fickle beast where you could build it up, and then day before a game, goalies, but hey, I got a huge tryout tomorrow, I'm feeling super nervous, poof, there goes the confidence. So a lot of it, like we talked about earlier, is just reminding yourself you're a great goalie. But the second is trusting the training, trusting all that work that you put
Yeah.
in, right?
Yeah, I think trusting yourself goes a long way because obviously to get to this level, I had to put in a ton of hours getting
Right.
shots, working on throwing, work on every aspect of the game. Sometimes you forget that, if you're having a bad day, but just think back to the fact that you put in all this preparation. You've got it. You're there for a reason.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Is there one particular element of your game that you feels weak that like you're working on right now, or is it just like a general I'm getting out there and being the best that I can?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I'm looking to improve on from last year is definitely my clearing. It's never been a problem for me really, and it's not particularly a problem, but I just think it could be improved. It was never like that until now, so that's definitely one thing that I've been focusing on and will continue to focus on. And then I think the fall is really useful to toy with things and fundamentally get a lot better. And so you'll find things out throughout the fall that you can work on. And the good thing is you have that time to improve on it throughout the year. So I'm sure we'll find some more things and I'll fine tune some more.
Yeah, love it. Well, I don't want you to give away all your secrets in case, people are scouting you that when this comes out and you're the starting goalie,
Yeah.
people come back and they're scouting Max.
Yeah.
No, but so when you talk about clearing, then what does that exactly mean? Is that just like getting it up and out quicker? Does that mean like throwing better dimes, making a few dodges? What?
Yeah, so I think I have a pretty good just like natural sense for kind of like if I save the ball, look right up and try and find a seam. I think the one area of improvement is snapping the ball off more accurately. I think there's a few times where I was just kind of inaccurate throughout the second half of the spring, and I just want to hone that in, and
Yeah.
that just I think comes with spending a lot of time with your stick and getting reps in. So I'm not worried about it. It'll come.
Yeah. Just hitting the wall or kind of just practicing
Yeah.
throwing those passes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of goalies, especially youth goalies, have trouble with clearing. And a lot of it too is like, at that age, like your defense doesn't know what to do. Like at the collegiate level, you're right. Like, you make a save and you can just expect the guy that was guarding the shooter he's already
Yeah.
like taking off. Right. And there it is. A lot of times at the youth level, they don't do that. And so, it takes a while to learn, but you got to get like the main thing is you got to get good with your stick.
Yeah.
And be able to throw every kind of pass and be able to throw a dodge if you need it to just buy yourself some time. And heck, be able to run down to the other side of the field and score if you need to.
Oh yeah, I would love to. I think
Did you ever do that? No.
Yeah, I had there was one goal I had in summer league in like a tournament setting. I
Yeah.
think it was my freshman or sophomore year of high school that I had a goal at, and I think it got posted to sideline swap and got a lot of views.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. Maybe we can link up with that when this post comes out.
I think it's deep down on my Instagram or something.
All right. Well, Evan, who works for me, he'll find it. He's good at that.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. What kind of stick setup are you using these days?
Yeah, so I've been using the Eclipse 2 really since it came out. So I've been using that for quite a while. Stringing, I've been trying to use the same mesh since I was younger, to be honest. I use ECD wax mesh in the net, which I don't think is very popular, but I love it, especially for goalies. And then shafts, I kind of rotate around really. It doesn't matter to me too much as long as it's lightweight.
Yeah.
So this past year I used just some STX attack stick that I think we had laying around. I actually just ordered a new ECD, one of their new goalie heads that I'm looking forward to trying out. So,
Nice. The impact.
yeah, I've heard amazing things about it, so I think I'm gonna give it a go.
Yeah, I have too. It's super light and it's a little shorter, like top to bottom
Yeah.
than the Eclipse 2, but it's wider.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting, like all the force, which kind of makes sense because all the force, it's got more like stiffness, like front to back and kind of less side to side. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about it. I haven't played around with it too much, but it's awesome head.
Yeah, hopefully it'll get in pretty soon. I'm gonna give it a go before we get back to school and during the fall. That, like I said, that's the time to mess with things. So
Yeah.
I like to rotate through some sticks and see what's working.
There you go. Now, do they give you like at Marquette? Do they give you certain sticks that you could get, and then you kind of on your own if you want to try others, or how's that work?
Yeah, so we're STX and Nike sponsored school. So
Okay.
other goalies, we get the Eclipse, and I think they have another head, but I think all of our goalies right now use the Eclipse too. And then Shaft's the same thing, but if you want to use their own, they're pretty supportive about, they'll order you stuff or you'll have to go get it on your own. But in terms of mesh, I'm not sure what most guys use. I know a lot of guys like their particular mesh, so
Oh
go
yeah.
about that kind of on our own.
Yeah, that ECD wax mesh is like one of their first meshes, right? Like what
Oh yeah.
yeah, like you said, I don't even know if they make it anymore. Like what do you
Yeah.
like? What do you like about it?
Yeah. Most of the time I have to buy it on eBay, truthfully.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've just been using it for a long time, and I'm just really comfortable with it. I think it grips the ball really well when I'm getting ground balls or out of the cage, and I think it holds the pocket well when I'm throwing. So I've just been using it for a long time, and I like it.
Awesome. Do you string up your own wands or do you have somebody else do it?
I do not. You know what's funny? When I was younger, I had coaches tell me all the time, like, you're gonna have to learn how to string your sticks. Like, no one's gonna be there for you all the time to string them. And I found that just to be totally not true. So I have not attempted to learn how to string my stick. My one of my best friends from third grade still strings my sticks to this day.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's funny. I never learned how. I mean, I've learned how, but I'm not a great stick stringer. So,
Yeah.
but now
I have
like
no
I have
idea.
Mr. Wonderful string up all my sticks, and he just
Yeah.
shifts me the heads, and I mean, no
Yeah.
problem.
He did my sticks this past season. I loved him. So
Yeah. Oh, he did.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Tommy's awesome. Shout
Yeah.
shout
Cool
out
guy.
to the Wonderful.
Yeah. Cool guy.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Oh, the one thing we didn't talk about was playing with Team Greece. You got the Christides, very Greek last name, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Only
So my
only out Greeked by the Apollopotis or that kind of that kind of Greek
yeah,
last name.
there's a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family is entirely Greek, and so I've been talking to the kind of like the directors for a long time. But now that I'm older and in college, I have the opportunity to play with them. The international game's growing a lot, I think, and so it's been great. I played a tournament with them this summer that was a lot of fun. You get to play with just a ton of different guys, from around the country, but also around the world
Yeah.
when you're going to these tournaments. So it's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I got plans to go to the World Championships next summer in San Diego. So if you're on the team, if you're there, I'll see you there.
Yeah, hopefully planning on it.
Yeah, man, I'd love that. That'd be awesome. Well, Max, good luck in this upcoming season. Good luck with Team Greece if that becomes a thing. And man, we'll be rooting for you. If you had to leave the goalies out there with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
Yeah, so I think I would say, a lot of goalies say have fun, but I've noticed, and that's totally true. But I think one thing that I would say to focus on is just be loud, kind of in everything you do. Be loud with your voice when you're talking to the defense. Be loud with your energy in practice. Be loud with your play style. Move around a lot and get outside of yourself.
Boom! I love that. Be loud. Be loud. Be loud. Be proud. Even if you don't know what to say, just be loud, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, Max. Have a good one.
Thank you.